Hello and welcome to the latest version of Rusted Junk. We are nearly at the end of the season, but we can't go without a few more films. And one of them is National Lampoon's Vacation, 1983 film starring Chevy Chase, Beverly D'Angelo, Randy Quaid, Anthony Michael Hall, loads of others. Anyway, as usual, here's the trailer.
This summer, when you think vacation, think National Lampoon's Vacation. See the real America.
Hey, underpants. Hey, yellow.
It's friendly.
I'm okay.
Don't you want to look at the Grand Canyon?
It's educational.
Great.
And most of all, it's fun.
The dog went on the picnic basket.
Let Chevy Chase, Beverly D'Angelo,
Mark.
Imogene Coca, Randy Quaid, John Candy, and Christy Brinkley
Well, are you gonna go for it?
This is crazy. This is crazy. This is crazy.
take you for a ride. This summer, when you think vacation, think National Lampoon's Vacation.
Better check under the hood.
So an interesting trailer, Joe. Is that the real America? Actually, firstly, before I even go and ask you that question, I should explain why Amanda's not here and Joe is. Amanda's not here because she's not feeling too well. She's getting better, but her voice isn't back to normal, and we really had to record a podcast because we have to finish with a Halloween film, and we've got another one to do in the middle. So we've got a tight schedule for October. So she said, what better person, apart from Dom or anybody else that's been on this podcast, could we get in order to cover this film? Now, the weird thing is, it was Dom's vote that won, because I know you voted, and we'll get into that in a moment, of what we should cover. But yeah, we've talked about this film a great many times, and I just thought, you know what, let's record it. So thank you for stepping in at the 11th hour and actually getting in. And I knew you'd gone straight into the prep, you've done all of that. So thank you very much.
Anyway. It's always my pleasure to come back on. And feel bad that I'm replacing Amanda. I hope she's feeling better. It sounds like she's on the mend.
Yes, yeah.
So hopefully we'll see her next week
or
whenever.
Next week. Well, it might be week. I mean, it's usually a fortnight. It may be at this rate. We may be doing a week. So National Lampoon's the real America, then, Joe. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, it is. I am very familiar with the road trip. We had gone many times. We traveled the East Coast. I used to live in New York, but we did drive down from New York to Florida, and it is very similar. You get into a lot of shenanigans that they had gotten into too. It definitely brought back a lot of fond memories of my road trips, or maybe not so fond memories.
Right.
But,
they
nailed it.
You didn't take a wrong turn at St. Louis, for example.
No, we got lost plenty of times for sure. My father would never ask anybody for directions, like most men don't. But it was always fun. It was definitely a lot of fun.
Okay. All right. So you are the guest. Even if you weren't the guest, I always go last.
Okay.
Of out of 10. So out of 10, and a quick explanation why would be wonderful.
Actually, I think I'm going to surprise you with this one.
Oh, okay.
So I give it an 8 out of 10.
That's not no. I'm not surprised.
I think that's the highest I've ever gone on this show.
I think Rocky Four. You didn't give it.
No, I gave it like a 6 or something.
Yeah.
But actually, I watched it last year. I watched it during lockdown. And it was fun watching it. And then I watched it again last night, And I gotta say, I really enjoyed it.
Right.
It still holds up very well. And I remember when this first came out, I didn't get to see it in the theaters because my parents wouldn't allow me, or they wouldn't drive me because I was in high school at the time.
Right.
So luckily, VHS was right around the corner. When that came out, I was able to rent it. And that was like one of my first rentals, I think, with VHS when I finally got a video recorder.
Oh, right. Okay.
And no, I loved it back then. And I would have loved to seen it in the movies. I saw the sequel in the movies, but you know, this was far superior to the second one anyway.
Right. Okay, that's interesting.
But yeah, no, I really like it. And I got to say, yeah, I'm not the biggest Chevy Chase fan.
No, me neither.
But he does an excellent job. I never realized how good he was in this until I really paid attention to him. I mean, he really knows how to deliver his lines. He's a good comic actor, because you got to balance it in this movie, because he has to be serious for a lot of this movie. And he has to basically, it's important that his role works the most in this movie. And he does a fantastic job. And I tried to think of who else could have replaced him other than Chevy Chase. And I really can't think of anybody. It's really did a fantastic job. I think everybody was fantastic in this. I don't have any complaints. I think everybody was very natural. They did seem like a family. Yeah. And yeah, I gave it an 8 out of 10.
Wow. That doesn't surprise me, Joe. I don't know why you think I'd surprised that it's been, out of all the films that we picked, that's the one that gets the highest score. I thought Rocky IV would get more. Again, the director's cut may change that. They have to take the robot out and everything. So we'll come back and revisit that. But
that'd be nice.
But yeah, so I'm going to have to agree with you totally. It is an 8. Is it the best one in the series? I don't know. Because I think Christmas Vacation is the one that people watch more. And I think people quote more. And they quote the Cousin Eddie lines from Christmas Vacation. You know, and they're remembering more for that sort of film. And I think it's one of those films that, because it's a Christmas film, people put it on more regularly rather than go back and watching this. But the beauty of this is it spawned a franchise, and it's right to, because you're right, the whole thing hangs on whether Chevy Chase gets it right or not. And as you know, I'll agree with you. I mean, when we get into Roll Call, I know we'll talk a bit more about it, but I'm not a huge fan of it. I know there are problems with Chevy Chase. I know that the industry had problems with Chevy Chase. I know he wasn't easy to work with. I'm not a big fan of things like Spies Like Us and things that people have reverential terms for. But then, spoiler alert, and I've said it on this podcast, and I'll say it again, I don't see it with the Goonies. I just don't see it. I just don't get it. So
I lost that one.
What?
What do you mean with the Goonies?
No, I mean, just like people like Spies Like Us and it's an amazing film. And they're just like, and then people go, oh yeah, the Goonies is a classic.
Oh, okay.
No. Back to the Future is a classic. The Goonies is all right. But I don't see what everybody, I'd rather watch Gremlins than the Goonies, personally. But anyway, this is getting off the point slightly. But I just think the whole cast is great. The whole cast, how it plays their part. There's not really a duff bit in it. You know, the guy that plays, we'll get to, he plays Roy Wally at the end. Yes, he appears, we've seen him in other things, you know, which we'll get to, but even he plays a good part, and you're just like, this is good. This is a good film to put on. I like the fact it's a 15. I like the fact the swearing in it. I admire the swearing in it, especially his breakdown in the car. I think that's fantastic. And it's testament to, you know, John Hughes again writing something like this. It's problematic, but then we talked about John Hughes's writing. It does have some problems with it, and there are problems with this film. Not enough to diminish the score though, because it's just it's written in a way that you can identify it. And I remember they did the thing in lockdown last year where they got all the 80s stars like Judd Nelson and Molly Ringwald and stuff to say the lines they're famous for. And Chevy Chase's was his rant from this film. And I'm like thinking, yes, because people remember that. It's beloved. You can argue that Christmas Vacation is more Randy Quaid's film than Chevy Chase is. There's a big argument for that, but this is 100% his film, and I think it's great. So for that, it has to be an 8 out of 10. It is, and we'll get into the problems, but we'll get into all the things that are right. I love watching this again, and when I went to Netflix, it went, wait a minute, you only watched this like 2 weeks ago, you're watching it again, and I'm like, yeah, yep, sounds good to me.
It questions you?
No, well, I always think it questions me because it shows that I've got all the way to the end, but I haven't got all the way past the credits. So it's almost like, oh yeah, I watched that 2 weeks ago. I'm inventing the Netflix voice in my head. You know, don't worry, I'm not going mad or anything. It's fine.
Did Amanda watch it?
She didn't know.
Oh, although she's got to watch it.
Although when I watched it today or this evening, I came down and I went, and all I did is she was with Amy in the lounge. She was helping her with her homework, and I just walked in and I put my hand up and I went, "Sorry, park's closed. Moose out the front should have told you." And she was in hysterics, and she still hasn't seen it, and she still doesn't know the context in that. But after what we're having a mega John Candy loving. And so I think she just wants to watch it just for John Candy. And I'm like, do you know what? Why not? You know, I mean, why not? Because we'll get to his part and the part he plays. As ever, I don't know why I'm talking like people haven't seen the film. If you haven't grasped this podcast yet, if you're just starting with this one, we assume you've watched the film because we're going to spoil a lot of it for you if you haven't. So anyway, there we go. Right. So let's move on. Let's go to roll call. I'm sure there's plenty to discuss in roll call. I'm hoping you've done some of the really minor ones, or picked out a nugget that I just haven't got. But I've done my best with roll call because it's quite busy.
I've got some.
It's quite busy. Anyway, here's roll call.
Roll call.
So we start with Chevy Chase.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Chevy Chase is synonymous with this film. For me, it's also Caddyshack, where he plays Ty Webb. I loved him in that. You've also got the likes of Fletch, obviously the Three Amigos, which we've covered here on the podcast, so go back and listen to that. He's in Caddyshack 2 as well. He's in all the Vacations. So what's it been? European Vacation, Christmas Vacation, Vegas Vacation, and then
the reboot.
And then the reboot, which we love in this house. We really love the reboot.
Do you really?
Really love the reboot.
Yeah, I'll have to watch it again.
I think it just works perfectly. But it's interesting to see the decline of Chevy Chase. I know he was big in a series called Community, which I haven't watched, but I know he was really big in that. But you just like, I'm looking through IMDb, and it's like when I look at a 70s actor, or if I looked at a 50s actor, and you go, they were in Stuff, they were in the A-Team, they played a robber in Hardcastle and McCormick, they played a tanker driver in Airwolf or something like that. You're like, okay, I get that. But for millennials, they'll be like, oh yeah, he's the repair guy from Hot Tub Time Machine. You'd be like, is that your legacy? Is that how you want to be remembered? So this is why I love films like this, which cut through it and say, do you know what? You can go back because this is timeless. It doesn't matter what era you're watching it in, apart from there's no tech in it, there's no mobile phones. Just watch it for what it is. So what about you with Chevy Chase? What's your
so for me, Chevy Chase, he was one of the pioneers of Saturday Night Live. He was one of the original ones with John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd.
He did Weekend Update, didn't he?
He did. He was the first one to do Weekend Update, and I think it was only him. Jane Curtin came on every now and then, or Dan Aykroyd, but that's mostly what he did. He didn't do any skits like you see now.
Right.
Everyone else did skits like Belushi and Bill Murray and Garrett Morris and stuff like that. But what was interesting, though, is when Gerald Ford became president after Richard Nixon resigned, he started playing Gerald Ford on Saturday Night Live.
Okay.
And the one thing that was known about Gerald Ford was he was a klutz. He was accident prone. And you'd see him like fall down like the stairs of an airplane.
Oh, is that like your current president?
Yeah, a little bit.
Oh, he
no,
falls
worse
up,
actually.
No, he falls up the stairs.
Yeah, that's true.
That's right.
True.
Yeah, okay.
But multiple times. And he had fallen in swimming pools. He just was known for falling. And you know, people, when they look at Saturday Night Live, they think that maybe he was overacting. No, this guy fell a lot. And I guess he was nervous because, you know, he was taking over as president of the United States. No vice president really expects for that to happen, but he did fall a lot. But by him doing Chevy Chase, doing Gerald Ford, he looked nothing like him. He just basically looked like himself, you know,
right.
Because Gerald Ford was balding. He had, you know, different color hair. He just was Chevy Chase. And every time he would find a way to fall in a different way. And he did that a lot. And that actually caused him a lifetime of back problems because of all of that.
Right.
And I remember, I think in a way he regretted it because he would not have had the pain and misery that he had to suffer throughout his life because of all of those pratfalls that he did.
Right.
I think I remember telling you the story where a friend of mine had worked in a local theater in upstate New York. And this was, I think, like in the late 90s, where Chevy Chase, he might have lived around there or he was vacationing there.
Right.
And so he showed up to one of the shows to see a movie, and he just walked in and he didn't pay for his ticket. And my friend went up to him and said, "I'm sorry, sir, but you didn't pay for your ticket." And he said, "Well, do you know who I am?" And he says, "Yeah, I do know who you are, but you still have to pay for your ticket." And he says, "Well, the way thing works for me is that I only pay for a movie if I like it. So if I like it, I'll come back and I'll pay for the ticket." And so my friend had said, he goes, "Well, it's too bad the world didn't have that option with a lot of your movies." And he got really pissed off.
Yeah. You know? Well, yeah.
But he is known for being a jerk. He's not very nice to fans. He's not very nice to the cast. I don't know why, but
he got his own talk show at some point, didn't he? And that flopped.
He did. Yeah, that didn't last long at all. But it was interesting. I was watching Joe Rogan had Quentin Tarantino, and they were talking about Chevy Chase, and he was kind of right. He said that he much prefers Chevy Chase movies over Bill Murray movies because in every Bill Murray movie, Bill Murray starts off as a jerk and then he redeems himself and then the audience loves him. You know, like if you look at it, Stripes, Scrooge, Groundhog Day,
Ghostbusters.
Yeah, almost every one of his movies, he's like that. But Chevy Chase, he starts off as a jerk, maybe a lovable jerk, and he ends as a lovable jerk. He never really has a redemption. And for some reason that intrigued Quentin Tarantino. And I was like, yeah, he makes a good point. Because even like when you watch this one, he's still a jerk at the end. He's just a lucky jerk.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my Chevy Chase roll call that I have.
Well, that's interesting. I mean, I'm sure this podcast might last 2 hours because when you and I get together and we talk about stuff, it's just, you know, we realize that, oh, by the way, it's, you know, it's nearly half an hour in and we're not even barely out of roll call. The Tarantino quote is a good one because I guess when you look at John Travolta's casting in Pulp Fiction, everyone was like, what are you doing? This guy hasn't made a decent movie since Grease. You know, if you look at John, please, by all means, listeners, go and Google John Travolta in the 80s. It doesn't look good. It's not great. You know, you've got Staying Alive in there, which was not very good. He made a film called The Experts, and I can talk about The Experts because I watched it a few times, and I don't know why, but it's dreadful. They kidnap two American people and take them to an American town that they've built in Russia. so that they can learn about America and then go back and infiltrate America. It's awful. It's awful. But then they're obviously, he gets found again. He gets a new lease of life. He gets Pulp Fiction. I think Tarantino is a good spot for this sort of thing. Definitely. But anyway, Chevy Chase starts at Saturday Night Live, ends as the guy in Hot Tub Time Machine. Tough business, show business. This thing they call show.
Well, you never know. Is he still around?
No, if they make another vacation film and include him in that, so he's not right at the end. Anyway, Beverly D'Angelo, she's gorgeous. I've got to say it. I mean, she's just great. We'll get to his philandering and his disregard for the beautiful woman he has next to him, for the beautiful woman in the Ferrari. But anyway, we'll get to that. Film highlights, again, she's in all the vacations. I really did like, she came into her own a bit, I thought, in Vegas Vacation, which isn't one that, you know me, Joe, I like all the police academies, all the way through. So I don't necessarily look at diminishing returns as it's going to get worse. Vegas Vacation is one of those ones where it'd be a pointless answer that nobody would, like the game show Pointless, where nobody would guess one of her films. But I think it's really good in that because their interaction with Wayne Newton is pretty good. So I would say, don't if you like this, get over the problematic start of European Vacation in the game show where the game show host kisses Audrey. Yeah, very problematic. Go through all of them, watch them all, have fun. But when you get to Vegas Vacation, just take it for what it is. I think it's a good film. But anyway, she's in that. She was in another film I watched recently, and she's uncredited. Pacific Heights. Matthew Modine, Michael Keaton, the tenant from hell that moves in. It's got Melanie Griffith in there. She can't act. But yeah, she's a good foil in the film to explain the Michael Keaton character. So I really like that. She had American History X with Edward Norton. She plays his mum. I thought that she's very good in that. And she's in Entourage, and I don't know, proudly or sadly say that I've never watched an episode of Entourage, so I don't know if she's any good in that.
No, I haven't seen it either.
But I'm willing to bet she still looks amazing.
No, I gotta say, I had a huge crush on her. And yes. I'm with you. I would not even touch Christy Brinkley if that was my wife.
Absolutely. Why would you?
And she was even better looking in the second one in European Vacation.
Yes.
But it was interesting. I was watching Any Which Way But Loose, the Clint Eastwood movie with the orangutan.
Okay.
She was in that. She was his brother's girlfriend that he picked up on the road. And I never knew she was in that. And it was kind of interesting to see. It seemed like, I guess she wasn't much younger because this movie came out, Vacation, in 1983. I don't know when Any Which Way But Loose came out, but she was in that. Right. One thing I knew about her is that she had a long affair with Al Pacino, and they were never married, but they had twins together. But it seemed like it was an on again, off again relationship. So he had some sort of longing for her because I know he tried to get her back several times. And I also found out she started as a cartoonist for Hanna-Barbera.
You do far much more research than I do. I think simply because I just skimmed through it.
No, it's like the ones that did Yogi Bear and I guess the Flintstones. So I don't know what she was.
That's a great piece.
Who she was drawing for, but I thought that was interesting.
Well, next time I watch Hanna-Barbera, I think, well, there she goes. Randy Quaid. Randy Quaid is funny, but in real life, his real life story is even funnier. I know you can probably tell a bit more about it. I will say that he's also in Caddyshack 2. So there you go. They're reunited again in Caddyshack 2. I remember him in Days of Thunder playing the the race car manager, the manager of the thing. I always remember his line. What did we look like out there? A monkey effing a football, which I think is a great line. Obviously censored, so we don't have to click the explicit bit, or do what you do, which is bleep it out. Russell, I can't remember his second name. Russell in Independence Day. Again, he has the famous line at the end, which is where he sacrifices himself and goes, "Hello, boys. Remember me? And up yours," which I think is great because I don't think that's really an American expression, is it? It's more a British one.
What, up yours?
Yeah, up yours.
No, that's American too. Okay. We might have got it from you.
I think we gave it to you, and you chucked us out when you Boston Tea Party. You chucked that. We just took it with us. We stole it. He's also in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation 2.
Yeah.
Cousin Eddie's Island Adventure. And I didn't know this existed.
I knew it existed.
And I watched the trailer. I watched the trailer. Oh. I'm not sure I could watch it. And you know the rubbish I watch. I'm not sure, but I might get intrigued when it comes to Christmas. It's certainly not going to make an appearance on Rusted Junk, just as a novelty. We have to do a better Christmas film than we've done the previous years, but we'll get to that. Randy Quaid, yeah? Anything to add to Randy Quaid?
Yeah, I think Randy Quaid is what Emilio Estevez is to Charlie Sheen. Randy Quaid is to Dennis Quaid. I don't like him at all. I can't stand him actually in any movie that he's been in.
You haven't justified that. Your justification in the week when we spoke about, we didn't even know this was going to crop up, but the fact Emilio Estevez, you think Emilio Estevez cannot act, but you reckon Charlie Sheen can.
Yeah, I still say I think he did a good performance in Wall Street.
But you can't name anything else.
He's better looking than his brother.
Yeah, but you can't say, well, he's great as the drug dealer at the end of Ferris Bueller.
I guess I didn't really see the movies, but, Major League was popular. What was that one that was a spoof of
Hot Shots?
Hot Shots. Yeah, that was popular in a way.
The Breakfast Club, Joe, need I say more? And I know you don't like it, but he acts well in that.
He's the worst one in it, actually.
Oh, Joe, I might be having problems with this recording. I might have to. It might. You're
going to edit it out?
No, it might
edit out the truth. You can't handle the truth.
I want the truth. No, if it goes off, it's just a power cut. It's fine. Don't worry. I hope it isn't though, because I hope I'll cut you off.
I don't like any movie that Randy Quaid is in. I just think that he's famous because of his brother. I much prefer his brother over Randy Quaid. All of his movies, even the worst,
even Jaws 3
Quaid movies. Yeah, I'll see that instead of Independence Day, any day.
He's not in Independence Day.
I don't like it. No,
you mean right? I'd rather
see Jaws 3 than Independence Day.
What?
I can't stand Independence Day.
Come on, man! It's got some good bits in it.
Not that I know of.
Speaking to a Jaws 3 fan, I would always watch Jaws 3 over a lot of films. And I can't wait till we actually cover it here, because I don't know how long that 3D TV that's in Amy's room is going to keep going. And the fact that our glasses will work and we have to watch it in 3D, because I do have it. Anyway, Randy Quaid aside, we'll be here all night. Mm-hmm. Hopefully, as we get down the later ones. Anthony Michael Hall, of course, John Hughes, veteran, if we could call it that. Weird Science, Breakfast Club. Year later, he made 16 Candles after this film. He's in Edward Scissorhands. I did recommend every time we talked about Anthony Michael Hall, when we did John Hughes and the youth films teen films in season 2, I said, please go and watch 6 Degrees of Separation with him and Will Smith, Donald Sutherland, Stockard Channing. That's it. That's the only people in the film. It is it's a set piece. It's a great film. I watched it again recently and it still holds up. He's in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. He's in The Dark Knight, which I know we discussed, but he's also in a TV show called The Goldbergs, and I think I really need to start getting into The Goldbergs.
Yeah, you'd probably like the Goldbergs because it's about the 80s.
Yeah, and they lampoon and they honor films by doing episodes around. Right. I hope they have a Footloose version in there.
I don't know. I've seen a few of them,
Right.
but yeah, you'll see like he dresses up as a Batman, or they get the Batmobile.
Right.
They definitely have a love affair for the 80s. So yeah, I'm surprised you haven't seen that yet.
No,
you should watch it.
But I will be starting that. Are you Anthony Michael Hall? Anything to add?
Well, to me, and I think most Americans, I would say, he's mostly known for 16 Candles.
Right.
That's his like breakout role.
Right.
And that's basically all I know him for. I mean, I know he's been in those movies, but to me, he didn't make any significance in
Didn't
any
like
of
him
the
in
other
Weird
movies.
Science? No?
I don't like Weird Science at all. Just not a fan of it.
Well, the interesting chats we have. Yes. I do.
Yeah, sorry to bring a cloud over your...
Look, you are... I mean, in some ways, we started this season on video and we started with Back to School, and that's been the most divisive one that we've done because I love Back to School. Amanda hated it. Howard the Duck, I wasn't expecting above average score, but then we get it. So I welcome this because this was my original thought. It's not an original thought at all. I wanted to take films like, War Boss, the Delta Force, American Ninja, stuff like that people would have gone, yeah, I sort of remember that, but I'd forgotten all about it. We're not there. I think we're in a far better place.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because of the films we cover. You're not going to see Back to the Future on here. I'd love to do Die Hard, and we might actually do Die Hard as a Christmas film. I don't know yet. But we're past that because we're just having so much fun and loving it. So, absolutely. I don't know where I was going with that point, but I'm sure I was making a good one. But this is, the beauty is that the disagreement is great because you all disagree with me on The Breakfast Club, but I still go back and listen to that, listeners, if you haven't. I held my own on that one. I held the fort for The Breakfast Club. Anyway, Dana Brown, who plays Audrey, she famous for Beverly Hills 90210. Again, never watched that. Wasn't my thing. She's in Christmas Vacation too. So.
She really? I didn't know that.
She is, yes. So, Eddie Bracken, who plays Roy Wally of Wally World fame. His most famous appearance was our perennial favourite that we watch every year. We go to the cinema if it's on. Home Alone 2, where he plays Duncan, as in Duncan's Toy Chest. He plays the owner of the toy store. So I did love him. He sadly passed away in 2002. So not much further after that. Brian Doyle Murray, he was the owner of the Wilderness Retreat. Don't know if I can call it that. It was a camp. Yeah. JFK, you recognise him from Wayne's World. He plays the boss in Christmas Vacation, so he comes back, but he plays the boss. He's in Caddyshack, he's in Scrooged, he's in one of my favourites. If you're looking at the trilogy from Better Off Dead, One Crazy Summer, he's also in the third one, which is How I Got Into College. He's in Groundhog Day. He's one of those people that when he gets on there, him, but you wouldn't know it if you say it. So
no, I really like him. I love his voice and his, I like him in Caddyshack. He's good in that. Yeah. He was in Get a Life. I don't know if you ever had seen that series with Chris Elliott.
No.
He is really funny when he gets a chance to shine. And I'm sure you know him. He's Bill Murray's brother.
No, I didn't.
That's Bill Murray's brother.
Oh, right, okay.
That's why he's in a lot of Bill Murray's movies.
Right. Okay. Now I get it. I didn't think Bill Murray would have that much sway for Caddyshack, but there you go. Obviously he did. Frank McRae. He played Grover in this. He was Sharky in one of the best Bond films, License to Kill.
Wait a minute. Who's Grover in this?
Grover. I tried to look it up, but he is in it. and it's quite prominent. I don't know, but he's in this.
Okay, stumped you.
And he obviously doesn't look like Sharky in License to Kill, which was 6 years later. So maybe, he found the all-you-can-eat buffet. I don't know what happened, but obviously, but we love Timothy Dalton films here, so we love Timothy Dalton's Bond. It seems really bad.
Oh, I know who he was. He was John Candy's. He was the other security guard there.
That's it. Because
there weren't too many black guys in this movie. No, that had to be him.
Well, I didn't want to go down that road, but I couldn't think of the Jane Krakowski. She's an Ally McBeal. John Candy. We've said a lot about John Candy. Just for the purpose of experiencing, just go and watch John Candy films. Just go and watch Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. I had that on Monday. While I was working, I had some admin stuff to do, so I had my screen here, which just kind of keeps me company. I had my screen there, and I went, "What should I put on?" Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and it's just great. It's wonderful. Eugene Levy, the guy that acts with his eyebrows, Jim's dad in American Pie. Perhaps you could help with a few more Eugene Levy.
He was in Second City Television.
Okay.
Like along with John Candy and Martin Short. And, he was always a good comedian. He was in the Best in Show, those movies. He's always in those. Who's the one? Christopher Guest. He's the director. He makes all those movies. He's in A Mighty Wind. Looking for Guffman.
Yeah. Spinal Tap.
Yeah, I don't know. Was Eugene Levy in that one?
Oh no, sorry, Eugene Levy. I thought you were talking Christopher Guest.
Oh right. Yeah, Christopher Guest was in that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, we'll have to get into the film. I just got to say, you're missing one big person.
Who? Harold Ramis.
What, the director?
Yeah.
Well, we don't talk about the director that much.
But I think he's important, though.
He's important. We love him, and he did Stripes, and we worked with Bill. Bill Murray. He worked with John Candy on that. Yeah,
he was actually in the movie. I mean, he did a voiceover.
He did a voice of the guard. Yeah, I read that in the trivia. One of the police men off camera. He did one of those voices. It's a pretty recognizable voice. It's a bit like Daniel Craig doing the Stormtrooper in Force Awakens.
Yeah,
you go, that's Daniel Craig, and you don't need to tell me twice. Anyway, right, we are like halfway where we normally are. We haven't even got to the film. Because we got some good trivia, and I think people will have seen this film. I think let's do something a little different. We can go through it, but let's talk about some of the standout moments that we think are really good. We can talk about Lindsey Buckingham. We can talk about the intro, Holiday Road. It's great. It's one of those songs that always puts a smile on my face whenever I hear it. And I think, is this the guy from the guy from Fleetwood Mac made this, and it's just become synonymous with, and it's just lived on like a life of his own. And I think it's great. I did like the postcards at the start. Having a wonderful time, but my ass is tired. Love stuff like that. The guy dragging the donkey. I love it. But you just think that the premise and going to the garage, meeting Eugene Levy, not getting the car he wanted. He gets the Metallic P, the wagon Queen family truckster. He gets that instead. And I think the whole premise of going to Wally World is great. I think it's a good, totally again, the new Vacation. He wants to do something different. So it's obviously, what do you call it? The son that's grown up, and he sees the look in his wife's eyes going to the same place and having the same photo taken every year, and decides that they have to go to this theme park. And I just think I love the fact that they took that, because the premise of this film is so good. Yeah, the fact he wants to go and do this because he says you see the kids all the time. I just want to spend some time with the kids, and you just think you're right. It comes back to what you were saying. He's a lovable jerk, and he's not seeing his kids, and he wants to spend some time with them. Does it make him a good father? I think he makes him a good father. I think it makes him a really lousy husband. But I mean, we'll get to that at some point. But yeah, I think the premise of setting it up and getting it going is quite funny. The show tunes in the car, and then the family all singing Barney Moose songs. Singing the Wally World theme. What did you think about getting it on track? It didn't hang about, really, did it?
What do you mean getting it on track? Like,
as in getting them on the road. There wasn't a lot of exposition, and then boom, like less than 10 minutes of the film, and they're on the road. They're on the way to St. Louis.
Well, I mean, I was fine with that. But it was funny when I was watching it the other night. I was like, when he was at the car dealership, I was like, what car dealership does that? Where he trades in the car and they have a car compactor in their back, where they just instantly squeeze it. Yeah, that was a little crazy. I mean, I know it's supposed to be for humor, but I think again, a lot of the things that he got upset about, and I think that he could have worked out things in a different way. But again, it wouldn't have been as funny if he didn't.
Yeah.
But I guess that's just me. I'm like a very big nitpicker now that I'm older. It's like, well, why didn't he do that? It's like Wally World was closed for 2 weeks.
Why didn't he call them? Yeah,
he could have called. He could have said, well, you know what? I'm just going to take another 2 weeks off. Screw it. And we'll just enjoy our time here. And I guess it was LA. And then once it's open, we'll go see it.
But the holiday, the trip is more important than the actual getting there.
Yeah. I mean, it was a trip to hell.
Yes.
But it was fun for us to watch, but it looked like it was painful as it was going on.
And speaking of nitpicking, that is not an airbag, Joe. That is a bin bag. That is a bin bag that's been, or trash bag, as you would call it, just inflated. That's it.
Yeah, a garbage bag.
Yeah, that's not going to save you anything. It's not going to help you do much.
You know what? I thought it was funny too when they went into, where were they? They weren't in Chicago. Were they still in St. Louis when they went into like a seedy part of town to ask for directions?
Yeah, was it St. Louis? Was it? Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was.
No, my family and I used to get into situations like that, and that was the first thing, my parents would say. They were like, roll up your windows, lock your doors. So that's very realistic. And the whole thing of stealing hubcaps, that was a big thing here. I just never understood why.
Because sell them on, surely.
What's that?
Let's sell them on.
Sell them, you said?
Yeah.
How much money are they going to make from selling hubcaps? I just never understood that whole thing. Anyway.
Well, I did nick the front of a VW because of the Beastie Boys. I did nick.
Did you really?
Yes.
Wow.
I know, that's a very bad lad.
We need to report this.
Well, please.
Anyone missing a VW emblem?
Does anyone want one? I've still got it in the garage. If you want it back. It's not stealing if I give it back, is it? Really?
How do you sleep at night?
Well, I did. Yeah, I have a nefarious past, as they say.
All right, we won't bring that up.
let's not do that. Anyway, so the stop at St. Louis, if you're bringing that up, Harold Ramis has apologized for that scene because that has every single stereotype in there. It's one of those. It's like 16 Candles. It's like the Korean guy in 16 Candles who hits every single stereotype going. It's problematic. It's problematic in the sense of, was it funny at the time? Yes. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Did I find it funny? Yes. Did I find this funny? Yes. Do I see it in the context of later? Yeah, I suppose so. Would I be embarrassed about it? Would I publicly apologize for it? Would he publicly apologize for it just a few years later. So we obviously thought, it wasn't right then. I mean, if he stood up now and went, hello, yeah, I'd like to confess all my sins. I mean, I know he can't, obviously, because he sadly passed on. But if a director came and said, do you know what, I'm really sorry for the stereotype in this, Steven Spielberg said, I'm sorry for the stereotypes in Temple of Doom and all this sort of stuff. And I'd be like, don't. Just accept it for what it is. The 16 Candles one is a bit problematic. I'll give you that. But this is just, it's a comic piece of they drove into the wrong part of town. Yes, it shows all people of color as, just thieves, putting them on the wrong track and all this sort of stuff. But look, it's the 80s. I'm not saying excuses things. I'm certainly not going to apologize for it. It's not mine to apologize for. But I still find it funny.
Well, I didn't know he apologized for that. I wouldn't have apologized for it because you know why? And I don't mean to get hate or anything, but I'm being truthful about that. It was realistic because there were a lot of places in the country that you didn't go to. And you could also relate that to white trash parts of town too. You didn't want to go there either. Trailer
it's just parks and stuff like that.
Yeah, trailer park and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, it was funny. I mean, I know that when it was shown, I know a lot of people laughed at the time because they've been in situations like that. It's just that so many people are so ultra sensitive to things like that. But at the time, I think the people of color that did watch it got a kick out of it, because they knew what it was like. And not everybody lived in situations like that, but some did. And they knew that, when somebody that looked completely different came into town, there were probably nice places they can go by going down one street, but go down another street, and they're either going to rip them off or again steal their hubcaps or maybe even their tires. So yeah, I don't understand why people would apologize for stereotyping.
Well,
it's because it was realistic at the time, and again, it could have been any race really if they wanted to, and they kind of did that in a way with those mechanics. They took advantage of them too.
It's a bit like the three amigos walking into the bar, and everything stops, and everyone suddenly they look woefully out of place. So yeah, I get that. But anyway, let's move on from that. John Hughes wrote this, so it's on his head, and you would say, does he have form? Yeah, he does, but it gets better as he gets older, or worse actually from a film point of view. But anyway, falls asleep in the car. That bit nicked again for Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. It's straight again. It just feels like the same thing. Falling asleep in the car, something funny happens. It's far funnier here than it is in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, because it's literally just like the camera pans out from the kids at the back. You see Beverly D'Angelo asleep, and then you see Clark asleep, moving his stuff, and it's just great because you're not thinking the car's going 50 or 60 or whatever.
But it's funny because I mean that has happened too, and I've been in the car with my father driving, and I'll see him dozing off in his head like going back. I'm like, wake up, Dad! Like I'd be in the front seat, and I was just there to make sure he didn't fall asleep.
Oh God, no, I've never had that. I've never had that. Thankfully, I've just wrote here Beverly D'Angelo, sexy as, because obviously the scene that came after that. This is the bit where she's on the bed, and he has the glasses, and they had the vibrating bed, and ends up going everywhere. She's just lovely. She just really is.
And when we used to go on vacation, we used to go to hotels like that, and they have had vibrating beds. And
Mandy didn't think it was a thing until we watched Planes and Automobiles. She thought that was invented for the film.
No, that's real. No, I used to put in a quarter in there, but we used to think it was a game. As kids, it's like, How
long did it last?
It lasted for like maybe 3 minutes, for a quarter.
Okay.
You thought you were getting a massage, basically. I mean, as a kid, that's what I thought it was for.
But if it's being used for what you think it is, which is sex, 3 minutes?
You got to have a lot of quarters with you.
Well, yeah, but you're gonna have to. It's
And
hardly a romantic. Well, I was going to say it's hardly a romantic thing when you have to stop put quarters in, but it's hardly romantic if you're on a vibrating bed, I suppose.
yeah, I wouldn't use it. It's like I think that would just be a distraction.
Joe, I feel like there was a confession coming there, but okay.
Sorry.
let's move on.
I didn't have enough change at the time.
I only had a nickel. Anyway, they go to the
I'm sorry. I just meant to say something. You know
Go
what
on.
I noticed for the first time is that we saw Beverly D'Angelo's boobies.
Yeah.
Is that a nice word to say?
They saw a few. Yeah, it's fine. You say
When she came out of the shower.
Yeah.
No, I was surprised that. I mean, it was an R rating over here, which meant that anyone under the age of 17 couldn't see it, but that might have been the reason why.
The thing is, they shot scenes again. They made two versions of the film because they knew that one of them wanted to be on TV. The cuts on the film, when we get to trivia time, if we get to trivia time, the cuts in the film are just embarrassing. I don't want to see any other version than the one that I've seen. I'm not even sure that the one that's on Netflix is the actual one. So I may need to go and to consult the internet for the definitive version of that sense. But yeah, you see them again in the pool. Anyway, right. But we'll get to the pool scene in some point. They go to the cowboy theme park. That's the bit I thought didn't work. You saw that in the trailer. Clark asked me, hey, Lily.
I like that.
Lily Niven, and he brings out but the thing about it is, you weren't expecting the shotgun, and you're just like thinking, whoa, oh right, okay, it's part of the theme. You would never get away with that now. You'd never have like somebody just firing a gun outside, fake.
Well,
gun.
that's like me nitpicking. It's funny for the audience, but
Yes.
It's like unrealistic. But all right, this is a roll call. So, do you know the guy that played Wyatt Earp, who he was?
No.
That was Richard Dreyfuss's brother. His last name is Dreyfuss.
Wow. See, I think I put that up in roll call, but I mean, if I did roll call, I just have to say, right, okay, this podcast is coming out in. If I did it to the extent that you would take the concept, because I know you don't do that on you go through the actors, but you don't go through them all. If you did that, I'd have to split the podcast up into two: roll call, intro and roll call, and then a break, and then we say the rest come later. Anyway, we must move on. We are then introduced on the road to Christie Brinkley while the family's having an argument. You see Christie Brinkley in the Ferrari. There's no getting around it. She is very good looking. We've already said we prefer Beverly D'Angelo, but Christine Brinkley is very easy on the eye. But then they finally get to Cousin Eddie's place. Randy Quaid comes out with some good lines. When he's first introduced to it, he's going, how things are going. Oh, Bank's been on me like a flies on a rib roast. And it's just the way he delivers lines is great. The interaction between the two. Did you spot, and it's worth going back and re-looking at this, and it happens in the background, but he's looking at Beverly D'Angelo all the time.
Oh, no, I didn't.
Right? He's looking at her. And when they go to say goodbye, he tries awkwardly to lean in for a big old kiss. She's not having any of it. And you're like, okay, there's something going on in there. But yeah, there was definitely this staring. But how did you get the interaction between the families? Because you are introduced to Aunt Edna at some point, which we can get to. How did you find the family scene when they got to Cousin Eddie's?
See, I thought that was the weakest part of the movie.
You think?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I guess they had to somehow introduce Aunt Edna. I mean, it was still fun, but I felt if I was going to cut anything out, it would have been that.
Right.
The kids really didn't play a major role in that. I mean, we got it. They wanted to basically dump Aunt Edna on them so that she can go to wherever she had to go to see her son. But Aunt Edna was played by Imogene Coco, and she was a very, very famous comedian in the United States, and she worked with Sid Caesar for, I think it was called Your Show of Shows.
Yeah, because she's mentioned in the trivia. Yeah, we'll get to it. Yeah, but the relationship that she had with Sid Caesar is mentioned in trivia time, which we'll get to.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, but I remember.
No, not at all. It's good to bring it up now because I missed it in roll call.
I remember her. I'm just saying that she was on TV. She might have been on Love Boat or something like that, but she was fairly famous, I would say. Although, most people don't know who she is. Yeah, it's, still, it was kind of fun with the Playboys and.
Yeah, the Playboy thing. So he says, oh, a guy taught me, a couple of tricks. And then he says, oh, have you ever touched the baloney or something like that? And I'm going, wait a minute, if you backtrack that, a guy taught you how to masturbate. Go back and look at that line. I'd played it 3 times. It was a guy showed me something cool the other day. And I'm like, what did he show you? Tell me on the doll where he touched you. It felt really creepy. But anyway, it's cousin Eddie's, his family. I like the barbecue, and you're going to have to help me out with something. What the jiggins is hamburger helper?
Oh, I think that was just basically spice.
Was it molded? It was molded into like a hamburger.
You would
grilling something.
We never really used it, but basically, I think you would put the ground beef, in a bag with the hamburger helper, and you would shake it up so that it would mix in there. I guess it would, add a little more spice to it.
So what's he grilling then?
I don't know.
Because I thought hamburger helper was kind of like something you put mince into, but then it formed vegetables and gherkins and carrot and something else, and then you'd fry that, and he's just skipped the meat.
Oh, so maybe he's just using the hamburger helper, which is just like, again,
the spice.
Yeah, no beef, just the hamburger helper, which is not very good if you're going to eat it alone.
He's a sharp dresser, but don't forget they had real tomato ketchup. Nothing but the best for you, Clark. Anyway, Aunt Edna appears, crotchety. They're driving her to Phoenix. Cousin Eddie wants to borrow some money. He's telling a sob story. I loved his line. The army said, I don't qualify for disability because the plate in my head wasn't big enough. It's great. Sorry, do love it. But he wants to borrow 50K. It's not going to happen. And the next scene is, we find out later in the film, he gave him a couple of £1,000 or something, I think. I don't know who has that type of money. It's probably just a check or something that he wrote. But they've got to take Aunt Edna to Phoenix. And also Dinky, the dog, who's had the runs, as we say over here, and just slept in the barn. So there we go. So they leave Cousin Eddie's. Anything to say before we leave Cousin Eddie's?
No, I'm good with leaving Cousin
Eddie. Bye-bye. Bye, Cousin Eddie. They then start to get to a picnic, and lo and behold, Clark is sees Christy Brinkley, sees Ferrari Girl. He's got a sandwich in his hand. I'm not spoiling trivia time by saying that dance that he does with the sandwich and stuff. I don't know whether it's funny or not, but he invented it. He just decided to do it, and the cameras just rolled, and so he did that.
I thought that was funny.
Yeah, but the funny payoff is the dog's peed on the sandwiches. That's the line. That's the bit there. It's great.
You know what I thought was funny? With Christy Brinkley and her driving.
Yeah.
Is that the only song she has in her car? Like that Little Miss Sweet? Well, because every time he sees her, that song is playing.
It was supposed to be another. It's supposed to be another song, but they couldn't play it. I can't remember what it was. Was it Van Halen or something?
Oh, really? That would be.
Yeah, cool. It was something else that they wanted to play, but they couldn't get the rights to it. But anyway, they make it then to the camp they were staying at. They ring the bell for service. I always thought they loved that sort of thing. They're paying $37 for 3/10. That sounds like a bargain to me, Joe.
Me too. I was saying the same thing. It's like, what are you complaining about?
37, especially when the guy says it includes scenery and the wildlife fun. I'm like, well, there you go. I mean, what else do you want? Clark and Beverly D'Angelo are getting busy. They get attacked by the dog because she's going, oh, you're a wild animal. And he goes, yes, I'm trying my best, all this sort of stuff. And she's like, no. The dog is basically biting him. I guess if I was with Beverly D'Angelo, probably I would forget other things that are going on around me anyway. I
think it would have been funnier if it was an actual wild animal, like
a bear.
Like a bear or like a raccoon or a cougar or something like that.
We can't have yet another film with raccoons and John Candy in it. So
okay.
Well, or bears for that example, or bats if we are talking about the great outdoors, of course. Anyway, they pack up. They don't spend too much long there. They pack up. Off they go. The dog lead, the bit where the policeman pulls them over, and the dog lead. I read in trivia time that they were having such a good, they were trying to stifle their laughter by not laughing at that scene. So what you see on that is them stifling the laughter, and he's trying to make it look like he's really sad about it, but in the end, he's just dying to laugh. So go back and watch the film with that in mind. But the lead on the end of the car, so yeah, poor little guy, probably ran for a few miles. And
see, I noticed when he put the leash on there that he barely put it on there. It would have came off because it wasn't looped on there.
See, this is the level of detail, which is why you're always welcome on this show.
Oh, thank you.
That's the sort of that's what the listeners want. Equally, they love the. God, I barely even noticed that from Amanda. So yeah, it's great. You like the yin and the yang. It's great. And please, if you're listening to this for the first time and you haven't checked it out, go back and check out the podcasts where it's me, Joe, and Amanda, rather than just me and Joe or whatever, because it's wonderful. Check out the ones with Dom as well, because I love doing podcasts with Dom for different reasons. I know you listen. You won't be mowing the lawn now because he listens to the podcast while he mows the lawn, or so he said. He won't be mowing many lawns now. So hopefully you might be going out for a walk or something, or you're on your way to I was about to say on your way to work. From the lounge to the study. But yeah.
If Dom is listening, I'm a big Dom fan.
You're a bit, whoa. Care to elaborate?
No, I think he's great. I liked when you guys were doing Friday the 13th.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh, I'm sorry, Nightmare on Elm Street. And Weird Science, did you do?
No, the last one was the one after Back to School. We did Real Genius.
Oh, see, I get those mixed up.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
They're completely different, but yeah, I can see why.
The names.
What's that film? 48 Hours? No, The
Godfather. What are those movies I don't like?
Well, thankfully we did them for you. And the fact he still doesn't like Real Genius, I don't think I'll ever forgive him. But we've been through plenty of things in this life together. So anyway, I'm sure he'll love that. There you go, Dom. Get a big head. You deserve it because you're wonderful. Anyway, so Chrissy Brinkley appears after the dog thing. There's a near crash. They lose the luggage. It happens to be Baby D'Angelo's luggage. She's lost it. He's lost his wallet as well. But then there's this weird bit in the film that all this doesn't belong there. They're on the way to the Grand Canyon. They're on the way to the hotel, the Grand Canyon. Loses it, lost his way. And then suddenly he goes, oh, yeah, there'll be a sign around here. What, you mean like that one? And then they launch the car up and the car is totaled. And then, even though I've just watched it, why did they split up?
Because
he went to go and find help. But did he think they were staying back at the car? Because obviously I keep missing this.
Well, someone had to go and find help. There's no way Aunt Edna could come with them, so someone had to watch Aunt Edna.
Right. So everyone had to stay at the car while he went off.
I think so. I mean, I guess he could have took Rusty with him.
Yeah.
But he might have thought, well, what if I don't make it? But again, it would have been in a worse situation if he died and then he never came back and never got help, because they would have died too. So,
yeah. Oh, Joe. Well, anyway, it just takes an odd direction at this point. So,
I don't understand why he was traveling through the desert and not on the road that he came on.
What do you mean the road he came on?
Well, the road that that they drove on to basically get to where they were. There was a road there. Instead, he went across the canyon and all that.
Yeah.
At least like he would have seen maybe a car going by one way or another. I don't know. Again, nitpicking. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's a good thing. That the road was just there. Yeah, that's a good point. Anyway, they fix the car. You see John Deal. John Deal's one of the mechanics. I kind of like him because he was also in Stripes. So it's a bit of a reunion. So we've now got Ramis, John Candy, John Deal. Yeah, okay, liking this. Anyway, gets to the hotel, tries to cash the check, can't cash the check because he's got no identification. He can't cash the check. The guy's being a bit of a thing. At this point, he slams the thing down and the cash register opens, steals the money. I did like the bit where they're all outside, just watching the Grand Canyon, and it's like, yep, kids, there's the Grand Canyon. Let's go.
That's a great scene.
It's a great scene, especially when she goes, Clark, why can't we just go? He's like, yep, great, let's go. It's just like we've seen it, we sit together.
But you know what I noticed for the first time is that when he opened up the cash register by accident and he took the money, he put the check in there.
Yes, which means there's caught red-handed.
Yeah, I was like, why did he do that? I guess he was being honest, but he basically knows the guy's name, his address.
They've checked in, so he would have everything because they've got a reservation for them.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing they haven't got is a social security number, but maybe that's on the check somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, sadly, as they leave and they're on their way, Edna dies. And Edna dies. What do? They put her on the roof. Now, I'm no police officer, Joe, but I do know if I saw something like that, I'd want to pull it over. I'd want to know if it was a dummy, a chair, or a dead person, because those are the only things it could be. The way that it's shaped and the way that it's wrapped on the roof. But they are taking her to Cousin Normie in Phoenix. And they take her there and they leave her in the chair. And because it's all raining and because Beverly D'Angelo's having a go at Clark, because Clark wants to get on, his goal is to get to Wally World. It's just like, leave Edna with an umbrella on. Normie's gone out to wherever he'd gone to somewhere. He just wants to leave her there for the weekend. And can you imagine the trauma of somebody getting back and going, oh, and Edna seems to be sitting on the pushing her. She falls over, she's dead. Let's not go into that because that would be a very traumatic thing to come back to.
I think that's another situation where we got to suspend disbelief. I mean, what I would have done was I probably would have broken in and
buried her in the desert.
No, I wouldn't have buried her. I would have put her in her bed and then just basically said, oh yeah, we couldn't get in. So we broke in and she went to bed and then just like assumed that she died while she was sleeping.
Oh.
I know that's being a bastard. Also, it was in Arizona. It rarely rains in Arizona. So I think that was another thing that their whole trip was just cursed.
Well, yes, it's one of those things. Yes, it was raining in that sense. But because of all this, he gets to his famous line. The kids are going, do we need to go all the way to Wally World? Beverly D'Angelo's complaining and everything. He stops the car with the rain coming down and he loses it. His opening line is great. I can't swear on the podcast, but it is great. You're all left in the head. It's just a well-delivered line by somebody who knows how to swear. It's wonderful. If it wasn't for me, you'd all be whistling zippity-doo out your asshole. And you're like, This is great. This is great. This is a good part of the film. It is what he's known for. It is what he came on that thing last year and did the line again. It's great. I love that. But now we have to get to the bit, Joe, which is they check into the hotel. Beverly D'Angelo still hasn't forgiven him for the outburst. So he takes his coat and he goes to the bar. I'm leaving you on your own. And off he goes. I guess he's at the bar with Christy Brinkley. And guess what happens? They end up in the hotel pool together. Now, lovable rogue. Did you call him lovable idiot or lovable jerk?
Yeah, lovable jerk.
Right. This isn't lovable. This isn't even a guy that's having a midlife crisis. He's not at midlife, but the way that he treats his family, I thought he's not a nice guy, is he? But are you supposed to overlook all of that?
Well, again, this is I think it's another thing you get to suspend disbelief in a situation like that.
Yeah, but it's not Hot Shots, part deux. We're supposed to buy into this character and laugh with him, and then suddenly he becomes like a sleazeball. That's like, oh yeah, I'm traveling incognito, but the people that are with me. What did he say he was? He was an undercover boss. Oh, I thought you were going to say you were one of those guys like the CIA. Oh, no, I was in the CIA, but, and he's just like, what are you doing, man? Beverly D'Angelo's in a bed back at the hotel. What are you doing here? Get to the liquor store, get yourself a bottle of wine, go back, apologize, and get busy.
But this was also National Lampoon, and this was also like just coming out of the 70s in a way, like early 80s that this movie was made. So back then, guys would cheer if, it's not right. It's definitely not right now, where if a guy was married and then all of a sudden some young hot girl had the hots for him and he got to score with her. And I guess that's what that scene was written for, is for people like that. But yeah, it makes him look like a jerk for sure.
I know, but it's not like Olive from On the Buses, which will have no reference to you, but to all the British listeners would go, it's not like he's cheating with Christy Brinkley because he's married to Olive.
I know On the Buses. So
do you remember Olive?
No, I don't actually, but okay. I know of On the Buses.
Not the most attractive. Oh, I'll get you, Butler. Yeah, this doesn't make sense. If she was even mediocre, if she was like a 6 out of 10, yeah. But he's got a 9. He's got a 9 at home. Like, what more do you want, man?
Well, you have to realize too, Cindy Crawford, I think she's gone through 2 or 3 marriages, and somebody once told me this, that somewhere out there is somebody that's tired of blanking Cindy Crawford. And I think that's what it is. It's like right. That he knew that he had her and that she loved him and he was always going to have her. So he wanted to cheat. Again, I'm not condoning it.
No, it's all right. It's fine. Yeah. No, it's just, I mean, this is it. It's just a good thing. Anyway, we must move on.
I did want to say one last thing.
He did say I'd stay if I weren't married. Right at the end to it. He's been busted. I'd stay if I wasn't married, but I am. What's sleazeball?
I wanted to correct you on one thing.
Go on.
We never got to see Christy Brinkley's boobs.
No, we got to see Beverly D'Angelo's when she dives in afterwards.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's what you were talking about. I didn't notice that. All right, I got to look at that next when we're done.
Joe, yes. Well, I'll move it on a bit.
Just fine. For investigation purposes.
Well, you said you were thorough, Joe. I expect nothing else.
Okay.
She even gets back to the hotel room and she apologizes for having a go at him. And I'm like, you just caught him in a swimming pool with another woman. What's wrong with you? Anyway, makes it to Wally World. As we have pointed out, the famous John Candy. He gets there, it's closed. The moose says his message And basically, he goes back, gets something, goes back in. John Candy comes out with one of the best John Candy lines, which you and I talked about at the start before we started recording. But there you go. It's sorry, folks, park's closed. The moose out front should have told you. It's great because it's a great line. He's got a gun. He's gone to the drugstore or wherever you get guns from, and he's got a gun. We find out it's not loaded, but then
It's a BB gun.
It's a BB gun, right? And what? And a security guard couldn't tell him that. Couldn't tell that that'd be a BB gun.
He didn't look like the brightest security guard.
Right. But there's Grover there as well. So there's two of them. So neither.
Oh yeah, Grover.
See, sack them both. And he basically forces John Candy to go on rides. And basically the family get their holiday. Obviously the police have been called. The police arrive with Roy Wally. And he does what he does best, which is he talks his way out of it and tries to empathize and try to. What did you think about that final scene? I know I'm rushing the final bit, but that, only because we've got so much to get. Well, I say so much. Listeners, at this point, if you are still listening, if you have things to do, we've probably got about another 25 minutes or so. It's fine. But what did you think of the final scene? What do you think of John Candy? I mean, come on, he adds brightness and delight to every single film he's in.
No, he was fun that he was in it.
Yeah.
I wish in a way he played more of a role, but I guess he couldn't either.
Yeah.
No, it was fun. It definitely, it would have been a more interesting sequel would to see them go back home, have to drive back home.
Well,
but
there is an alternate ending.
There is?
There is. Which
they were in a plane?
Yeah. Yes. There is an alternate ending. Do you know what? For the purposes of expediency, we know that we love John Candy. We know that the film ends. Everyone knows the film ends. We probably talked about it enough. Let's go straight to trivia time.
Okay.
And then we're a bit on track. And then we can get to any bits that we missed. We probably cover the bits that we missed when it comes to trivia time. Anyway, here we go. Here's trivia time.
Trivia time.
So, there is an original ending. So, an alternate ending. So after seeing that Wally World's closed, he goes to the house of Roy Wally. He points a gun at him and forces him, a security guard and Wally's business associates to sing and dance Wally World theme songs before the police arrive to arrest Clark. The girl in the red Ferrari, Christy Brinkley, arrives. And it turns out to be Roy Wally's daughter. And she convinces him not to press charges against Clark. On the plane ride home, the Griswolds realise they're on the wrong flight. Clark snaps and hijacks the plane. This didn't go over well with test audiences. And the scenes in the park with John Candy were a last-minute alternate ending filmed over 2 weeks, 4 months after production ended. The original ending was deleted. It's believed to be lost. However, Chevy Chase says he has a videotape of the movie with the original ending. And a photo of the Griswolds, as you quite rightly say, is shown on the end credits. That's a dark ending.
Oh yeah, no, I mean I definitely prefer the theatrical one.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. What else have we got? All the cast had terrible experiences when it came to filming the scenes inside Wally World, which is filmed at Six Flags. The car park was of the San Anita racetrack. So when you see Wally World in the distance, that's a cardboard cutout. So it's just like superimposed. It does show. Chevy Chase mentioned all the rides made him and the other cast vomit, especially had to ride them several times. Audrey mentioned in the commentary that roller coaster made her so sick she had to take motion sickness pills and would pass out on nearby benches between takes. Finally, Anthony Michael Hall mentions that the shots on the roller coaster where he looked scared, the fear in those shots was genuine. I couldn't keep riding roller coasters. I don't know what you're like.
No, I couldn't either. I can't do Star Tours more than twice.
Well,
and that's not even a roller coaster.
It just moves slightly. It just goes slightly.
But it gives me motion sickness.
Joe.
Well, I'm just telling you.
Did you know how much John Candy got for his appearance at the end of the movie?
No, I did not.
$1 million.
Wow.
I'm not sure that's true, you know. Sometimes I try to double check all the trivia, but that's in various bits. $1 million just for that. I'm not even sure Beverly D'Angelo got $1 million. And I'm not sure John Candy was that big. What had he made by that point? He'd made Stripes. He hadn't made Splash even yet.
Yeah.
He hadn't made Bruce's Millions.
Trying to think what else he did, but yeah, no, that's surprising.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I don't believe Chevy Chase when he says that he has the original ending on VHS.
Well, in the DVD commentary, Harold Ramis mentions for the scene in which the truckster leaps up into the air, several of the crew members made bets against the second unit director Dick Zyker that he couldn't jump the car more than 50 feet. They even drew lines in the sand to measure the distance. He ended up winning the bit because it jumped more than 60. So he managed to get it quite kind of high. Interestingly, while we're talking about Harold Ramis, his cousin Eddie's daughter that couldn't speak, that didn't have a tongue, that's Harold Ramis' daughter, Violet. I think that's great. I love the fact that she's in the film.
I think his wife is in the film too.
Oh, okay. Where have we got? I did try to make it very brief in the trivia. Kim Cattrall was the original choice for Ellen Griswold. Kim Cattrall, that would have worked. Wouldn't have been as pretty.
No, but I mean, I think this showed that Beverly D'Angelo could really act and she could do comedy. I'm glad that they cast her.
And to be fair, Kim Cattrall looks incredible in Mannequin. So,
yeah, and Big Trouble in Little China, she was attractive in that too.
In the DVD commentary, where the Griswolds are in St. Louis, Harold Ramis said in that commentary that it was the most politically incorrect sequences he ever shot, which is what we talked about before. And it practically demonized everyone involved. He also admitted he wasn't proud of shooting it the way it appears in the film. And he wouldn't shoot, he wasn't even sure, so he didn't say that he wouldn't. He'd shoot that particular scene today. And if he did, he would write it in it very differently to the way that it came out. And while we're talking about Harold Ramis, just on this bit, we're nearly at the end. There was so much to get through. I just had to pick out a few because I know that we've been talking a lot. But Harold Ramis says that anytime there's swearing in the film, they also had to shot another take of the same moment, minus the foul language, to get the one for the film, to get the rating, the one that they could sell for TV. Clark's speech where he's fed up with his family was shot 3 different ways, with Chevy Chase handling the cussing differently every time. According to Ramis, nothing worked as well as Chevy Chase going full on and letting the F-bombs fly. And I'm like, well, yeah, wouldn't be. Can you imagine the TV version of Goodfellas?
Well, I mean, I know there's a TV version of Scarface.
There is.
Yeah, I think I have on the Blu-ray, you can actually listen to the audio that they used. I forget what it says, but it's kind of funny. You can look that up on YouTube.
Okay.
TV version of Scarface, and you'll get a kick out of it.
I am writing it down there. I'm writing it down. TV version of Scarface. To all the UK listeners, and Dom, I know you'd be thinking of this at this very point. I can read your mind. Harry Enfield's version of the TV version of Goodfellas, which I think is why it came into my mind, which is, did you fun my wife? And it's like Muddy Funster. Loads of kids at that time, and we all used Muddy Funster because we just thought it was great. It was fantastic. It's just the way it is. Anyway, have you got any trivia? What have you got, Joe?
No, actually, I don't have much trivia. I mean, other than the fact that when they reshot the scenes with for the new ending, when they brought Rusty back, he was much taller than he was.
Yes, good shout. Yes, I did read that. Yeah.
He was shorter than Beverly D'Angelo
when he started
in the beginning of the movie. And then at the end of the movie, he was taller than her.
You just have to do a Tom Cruise. You just have to shoot them so they're slightly out of ones in the distance. I mean, now that we're talking about that, illusions, that Wally World picture that's tagged onto the car park doesn't work. I mean,
Well, I didn't even know that until you mentioned it just now.
Now you can't unsee it. Sorry.
I'll have to watch that too, along with Billy
the
D'Angelo's
pool
boobs.
scene. The pool scene, yeah.
But no, that is an actual theme park in California called Magic Mountain. I've never been there.
Okay.
But they definitely wanted to use Disney World. It's obvious. They might never mentioned it in trivia,
Right.
But was it Marty Moose? Was Mickey Mouse? The theme song was the Mickey Mouse theme song. I mean, everything about it. And then even like the guy who played, the creator of Wally World, he was, either Disney or Roy Disney with the mustache.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So you wonder if they did go to Disney and ask them if they could use the park as a backdrop at some point.
I don't understand why they wouldn't, but it works. It doesn't work I guess it works better with Wally World because it's something you can invent. Because you'd have to jump through hoops to get Mickey Mouse to do anything funny, but then you've got Barney Moose going, the park's closed, come back again, revisit. You wouldn't be able to do that because Mickey Mouse's voice is infernally annoying.
No, I wouldn't say that. I like Mickey Mouse.
I like Mickey Mouse, but his voice, get on with it.
Get on with it.
You don't want to hear him read.
Go through puberty.
You don't want to hear him read the collected works of Shakespeare or something. You just you couldn't do that. You get to a pair of star-crossed lovers in, right at the start, Romeo and Juliet, and go, shut Mickey Mouse up. Can you get me Pete Postlethwaite from the 1996 Baz Luhrmann remake, who does the voiceover for the start of that? Oh, love that.
I think if they did use Disney World, that would take away from the film. I think more people would be focusing on actually Disney World and the characters.
Yeah.
And that's why I think you're 100% correct when it was better that it was a fictional theme park that they used. But although, is it Marty Moose?
Barney Moose. Barney Moose.
Is it Barney Moose?
Barney Moose. Yeah.
I'll have to check that one out too.
Barney Moose.
I think it's Marty Moose, but I'll check it out.
Wow.
That was like Bullwinkle Moose. It always reminded me of Bullwinkle.
Yeah. I remember Rocky and Bullwinkle. I do remember Robert De Niro starring in the live action remake. Well, sorry, if you're going to bring up Rocky and Bullwinkle, I'm going to bring up.
I never seen it. I was, my heart sunk knowing that he was cast in that movie with Jason Alexander. Good Lord.
Raul Julia playing Bison in Street Fighter, the movie. I'm like, don't be doing that. You're far better than that. You'll always be, what do you call it? Adams.
So one thing I wanted to ask you, so you had mentioned that Lindsey Buckingham did the theme song for Vacation.
Yeah.
Other than that song, and when he was with Fleetwood Mac, when he was solo, did he have any other hits?
No.
Yeah, that's weird.
Well, yeah, but it's a bit like, it's a bit in a way. So what, about 8-9 years ago now, I went to see, because I'm a huge Monkees fan, I went to see Michael Nesmith at Union Chapel in Islington in London. Travelled all the way down there. And basically, I don't know a lot of his solo stuff, but obviously I know word for word everything that he did in the Monkees. He came on stage and went, I'm going to do 2 Monkees numbers, and then I'm going to go into my solo stuff.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. One of which was Rio. I mean, Rio's a great song.
Did he do different drum?
Yes, he did that one as well.
Okay.
Right. But what I'm saying is that, for the crowd, they were thinking, it's going to be a mixture. He was like, no, it's going to be all my solo stuff. It was still a wonderful, don't get me wrong, it's still a wonderful concert to see him at that point. But yeah, I suppose Lindsey Buckingham can just go on stage and say, look, here's all the great songs that I've been a part of, and here's some solo stuff. But it's a bit like Kenny. I don't know how we got onto this, but I have to mention this. It's a bit like seeing a Kenny Loggins gig.
He sounds like Kenny Loggins.
He does, but Kenny
Yeah.
Loggins, you forget is responsible for, all right, Danger Zone, get that. Footloose, get that. But Meet Me Halfway, from Over the Top, the Sylvester Stallone arm wrestling film. Nobody remembers things like that. I'm
You
all
get
right.
that right.
I'm all right from, well, what? As in nobody what?
Nobody
No,
remembers Over the Top.
but it was all right. It wasn't great, but it was all right. But then I'm all right from Caddyshack opens the film. Now, if you went to a Kenny Loggins gig, I want all of those played. I want the whole lot played.
And they would. They'd play other than the Over the Top one.
And then Meet Me Halfway. I'm sure that came from a film, but I can't remember which one. I'm sure it's from a film. Oh God, listen to me. I'm crushing the burning, Joe.
Was Holiday Road, was that a big hit over in England?
No,
Yeah, it wasn't over here either.
not at all.
But everybody loved it.
But exactly, everybody loved it, but nobody bought it. Or, strangely enough, maybe he didn't release it. Maybe it was just an album-only track. That's a really good point, Joe. So while you're going to look at Beverly D'Angelo in the pool, I will go and research a bit of Lindsey Buckingham. I know which one I'd rather be doing. But anyway, for completion's sake. Anyway, that draws us to the end of the podcast. Joe, it's been a pleasure. Tangents have been the name of the game on this podcast because we go in straight. I never thought I'd be talking about Kenny Loggins live. I never thought I'd be talking about I did know a Hamburger Helper, but I didn't know what it involved. It's been a pleasure. Joe, just about to cough, so I'll go on mute, so you'll have to talk.
Okay. No, it's always been a pleasure coming on here. Like I said, I miss Amanda and like when Amy's on too.
Well, she doesn't know this yet, but we think that we're gonna. We had planned to do Risky Business next.
You can't do that one with her.
Wait a minute. No, not. Yeah, I'm setting it up. But no, we plan to do Risky Business without her. But then I think Bruce's Millions. We're going to do Bruce's Millions as a family. Because I think she can watch that.
I never seen that one.
Oh, it's so good.
You know why? Because I was mad at Richard Pryor for ruining Superman 3.
I can't hold that against him. I know he did ruin. Yes, he did. And but don't forget, Robert Vaughn is equally to blame. Sorry, I'm going to cough again.
Okay.
So Bruce's Millions, and then we're going to finish, dear listeners, with a Halloween film. And the one that we picked is the legendary Michael Keaton film, Beetlejuice.
Oh, cool.
The audition for Batman. You could call it, maybe. Who knows? Anyway, so yeah, there we go. Absolute pleasure. Love doing this podcast. Love the film. 2 8s. Can't go wrong. Joe, do you want to give a as I do when I come on yours, do you want to give a shameless plug for your podcast? Which, if you're listening to this for the first time, I'm not going to wax lyrical. I love Joe's podcast. It is a firm, regular fixture. He does them every week now. It's perfect. With that intro, Joe, fire away.
Well, thanks. I appreciate your praise and all that. I definitely appreciate it. I do a podcast called WDWNT Nerd Alert. We're part of the Walt Disney World News Today podcast group. Walt Disney World News Today is a pretty big Disney website that is the worldwide leader in Disney news. And again, we're part of the stable. And what we do is we discuss mostly Star Wars and Marvel, but we throw in some DC.
Oh, loads of different things that come in. Yeah.
Yeah. We kind of expanded a little bit just because we want to do it more weekly, more consistently. And we always have a lot to say. I can't stand the fact that we go on for more than an hour, but we do.
Yes.
It's rare if we can go under an hour.
I go to do download and I'll go, oh, what is it this time? It's somewhere between 140 and 153. And it usually is. It's great.
Yeah.
It's great though, because that's what I want from my podcast. When I listen to podcasts, I listen to them while I swim because I've got a fancy waterproof MP3 player, which is great. And I just listen to it. So for me, It's perfect. I've got 4 podcasts on rotation, and I managed to get to listen to them all, and it's so good. And I couldn't imagine a weekly podcast listening without your podcast. So if you haven't,
thank you.
If you haven't checked it out, which you probably you may have done from the previous things, and I hope you're still listening to it. But yeah, you might find that Jack, who's on the show, takes a long time to get to films. And if you do interact with the podcast, can you send from me that he really, really, really should watch Joker if he wants to be a DC completist?
It's true. Yeah.
So yeah, and just mention my name by all means. I'm sure he'd love that. Send a few emails. Tell your friends. Anyway, right. I must bid you goodbye, but it's been a pleasure. Thank you. And I am going to sign off. I'm going to say cheerio. Over to you, Joe.
Toodle pip.